Okay. Hey, it looks like it's live, Hillary. Last week was funny. Did you watch the start of it? I didn't.
Yes.
I don't watch the videos, but when it's in the box on Facebook and you see everyone just kind of looking around,
Hmm.
and I think I'm up out of the seat. And yeah, there definitely was a delayed reaction last week, ladies.
Our mouth did not match our words, so hopefully you listened and didn't watch.
Yeah. Yeah. We're working on it. Hopefully today is live and you can be with us. Please comment so that we know. We love hearing from you.
Yes.
And maybe today share a fun fact about yourself too. I just learned something fun about you that I didn't know. Hillary can do some sign language.
Just some. I cannot
Yeah,
speak fluently, but
but you can do whole
I
songs.
can. Yeah. When I was in high school, my parents went to the Nazarene Bible College in Colorado,
Oh
and
wow.
they let me register for the choir and sign language. So I used to perform sign language with the big choir at the Bible college. Yeah.
That's so
So I'm
fun.
volunteering at the kiddo school and teaching them some songs.
Do you have a favorite song that you like to do sign to?
Casting Crowns, O Glorious Day.
Okay.
It's really pretty and it's an impactful song. So I'm excited to see a lot of little kiddos doing it. Yeah,
Oh,
it's going to be cute. Maybe I'll share a video.
we would love
Look at
that.
it.
I would love that. Yeah. Well, we are missing two of our, yeah,
We don't
two
like
of our
that.
own. No, we don't. Denise, Betsy, we miss you. Betsy's under the weather right now. Denise is enjoying the weather.
Her and her
Yeah. Yeah.
vacations.
So we love you both and miss you. We're going to try to hold down the fort here. So ladies, if you are on the other end with us, please say hello and send in your comments as well. Hillary usually has her phone just to kind of see is anybody on there.
Yes.
Right now there's nothing, and so I worry that we're really live, you know.
Well, Nikki will let us know.
She will. All right. So, Hillary, your book is really, yeah, you got a lot of words there. I do too. Where do we start today?
I don't know. So I will start with the basics.
Okay.
If I was observing
Mhm.
without knowledge of, I don't know. So I'm just going to say this. The first thing that stuck out to me was that throughout all the chapters that we read leading up to this, Abraham's like, yeah, she's my sister. Or Abraham, what about Lot? And what about the people in Sodom and Gomorrah? And there was a lot of like pushback for things
Yes.
or like protecting himself.
Yes.
But then when he says, take your son and go, he just goes. And so my initial reaction was, interesting. Like, when it's not you, you're like, okay, I'll do it. But I know as I did more studying how hard and painful that would have been for him and how all of those things leading up to this final test grew him spiritually. But just my initial reaction was like, that's odd. Like, you don't tell the truth about your wife, but you're going to go sacrifice your son.
I'm glad that stood out to you here because I think it should shock us.
Yeah.
We've been on this journey with Abraham. At least I feel now like this has been a real journey, and because I mean, okay, stepping back, this is a familiar story, right? We've all heard of Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac if we've been a part of the church before. This is one of those Sunday school stories. But I've never really journeyed with Abraham like I have throughout this study to know that, okay, he didn't always obey in this way. And so as we've been on this journey, I've kind of wondered from time to time, well, how does he get this name, the father of the faith?
Yeah.
Because he seems normal, like me in a way. I think this is amazing faith that we do see. All right, so what else did you observe?
The third day spoke out to me.
Okay.
Just because I love when there's numbers and
Mhm.
the significance usually.
Mhm.
But then when I looked into this more, and then you talked this morning about the comparison of this to Jesus dying on the cross, like I wrote down some of the comparisons
Hmm.
that Isaac and Jesus were the only son,
Mhm.
that they were both loved,
Mm.
that they were both offered willingly, that they both carried up wood for their own sacrifice, that it was the same hill, and then that they were both delivered from death on the third day.
Wow.
So I really love when I get to see like connections from here to all the way down
Right, right. That's a beautiful list, Hillary. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. What about this idea of God testing Abraham? Yeah, this idea that God would test us. Do you have any thoughts on that?
there. That one was hard for me because, and that's why I think that it's super important to study the way that we are, because when you read it in the King James Version, it does say tempt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's why if you were to just read it in the King James Version, it could be confusing as to what that means if you don't
Yes.
dive into the word more.
Okay.
Because when you look into the definitions in the Hebrew, is it Hebrew, right?
It is.
The
Yep.
Hebrew word, it does mean try, like to
Mhm.
be your faith to be put on test.
Mhm.
And so,
Which is different than temptation, right?
Temptation is for evil, usually. Yes.
Yeah, to be kind of lured into sin
Yeah.
versus no, this is a test. This is to see, all right, the quality of our faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also makes me wonder, like, when am I being tested?
Mhm. Sure.
And it makes me nervous. Like, I don't know if I'd pass like he did.
I don't know that he's passed every test that he's been through with
Yeah.
flying colors, but what we get to see here is a picture of mature faith.
Right.
And so I think this gives me hope that, okay, it can happen. It's just the next step of obedience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of made me think about how he rose early. He didn't hesitate. Like, if my test was this big and this scary, I feel like I would try to keep talking through it with God and not necessarily just get up and go. And
Mhm.
so one of my applications was to trust the promiser more than the promise.
I love that.
Because he could have been like, I'm sorry, what do you want me to do? Because I'm pretty sure that we've taken this whole journey to get here, to have Isaac.
Right.
And now you want me to do what?
Right.
And so he didn't, though. He didn't question the promise. He just trusted the promiser.
That's beautifully said. Thank you for that. I'm blown away by Abraham's like immediate obedience.
Yeah.
This is active obedience. But God is acting. I mean, he's asking him to be active. Take, go, offer. He's calling him to be active, but I'm kind of like you. I feel like I could have some time in prayer, some hiding, some, I don't know what else. I hadn't really thought about.
A fast for
what-
a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Seek counsel.
Seek counsel, that's a good one. Yes.
Yeah.
There would be a lot of reasons to delay this or a lot of ways to delay this, but I am struck by his active obedience. Like,
Yeah.
immediately, the next morning, he's on his way.
Yeah. I have to share something kind of funny.
Okay.
And Denise said she misses us.
Denise, hi.
There's a lot less laughter when she's not here.
I know. It's true.
So I was thinking when I read about, like, when they got down to verse 7, and Isaac said to his father, Abraham, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. He said, behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And I said to my group today, like, that's just somebody giving us an example of what he said. Like, there's no way he was like, behold. Like, I think he's probably like, Dad, we have some of the stuff, but where's the rest? Like,
I hadn't thought about that before.
It just
Yeah,
makes me
that is
laugh.
kind of funny language. You're right. You're right.
All right.
Okay, so anything else there, Hillary? I feel like I had a thought there about Isaac's question, but it's escaped me, so I'm good to keep moving on. All right, so here we are, day 2. What stood out to you on this day?
I just had a lot of questions that I won't get the answers to.
Oh, really? Okay.
Did Abraham question God? Did he tell Sarah, or was she just hanging out at home thinking they're on a normal trip? It just and it kind of wrote the stuff we talked about a minute ago. Like, he spoke on behalf of Lot, like he fought for the people in Sodom and Gomorrah. So it's just like, I'm curious what he was thinking and how he was feeling on that trip.
Those are terrific questions, and I think worth asking. I think it's helpful to put ourselves in Abraham's shoes.
Yeah.
And we can kind of, so what would we be thinking? What would be going on in our minds? It's very quiet here. There's not much dialogue. We get Isaac's question to his dad, but once they leave, there's just not much dialogue until the actual, like, the angel of the Lord comes back.
Right.
There has to be agony here, doesn't? You know what I mean? I don't think Abraham, we've not seen him be superhuman anytime before this.
Yeah. I mean, I would be crying ugly tears for 3 days. And that's why I think there's no way Sarah knew. She could not know.
Yeah.
And then let them go. I just can't imagine.
Right. It's a good point.
Yeah. But the one thing that stuck out to me application-wise on this day was that, like, Abraham was willing to just do the will of God. And sometimes when I pray for his will, and I want to know your will, and I want to do your will, but what is your will? And so an application for me was to be willing to do the will of God before knowing what his will is. Not conditionally, waiting for if I like it, or if I like the plan, or if I know what the outcome is going to be. Like, Abraham was told what to do and went, and there were still a lot of unknowns.
And I don't think any human being on earth would question, like, they would understand if Abraham did not follow through on this. It just seems too far out there. It's too much to ask. But, Isaac is, I think I mentioned this morning, Isaac is, and we don't even see this here. It's not clear. But if anything in Abraham's life that is going to come in between Abraham and God, it would be Isaac.
Right.
And so it seems like this is the one thing God is asking him to literally lay down. Like, this struck me that Abraham had to physically lay him down on the altar.
Yeah, and we were talking about this in our group this morning, is I feel like this story is one where if you don't put on the glasses and you don't look at culture and the fact that they could audibly hear the voice of God and things like that, like, today this story would be like a whole different, people would think Abraham was off his, it doesn't make sense.
It does not make sense.
And for Isaac to be obedient and submissive and not, like, fight back, I think, like, what was he feeling when he's laying down there?
I think it's a worthy question, too. It's obvious that he willingly submits. And I think it's obvious, too, that he's been to a number of burnt offerings. He knows what is to be involved, what's to be expected.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Hillary. Help me out.
I didn't help. I just sat here.
So that struck me that Abraham, and maybe it's Abraham and Isaac together building this altar, because there'd be stones first, then the wood, then Isaac is bound, and then Abraham has to physically lay him there. Another thing that stood out to me, and I mentioned this morning, was this: when God says, "Now I know."
Yeah.
Now I know. Like, this was in the, not that I know Hebrew, I wish I did, but this is a kind of a joyous word, a celebration in a way. But usually it was always for somebody else that has been helped by God and has seen God's, I don't know if salvation is the right word, but has seen his favor, has seen his help.
Yeah.
But it's turned around that it's God saying, "Now I know, Abraham." What verse is that? That's 12. "Now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me."
Yeah. And Isaac's like,
Can you imagine?
no.
And they turn around, here's this ram, and they go ahead and they follow through on the worship piece too. That's what I wondered. It was a question, like, what was the worship like that day?
It had to be intense, I would think. The relief and the like feeling like you saw God's true provision and the obedience, but then the reward that came with it, and I would be on my face.
Maybe they were.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. What about this, Hillary? Like, on day one, we see Abraham say to Isaac, maybe I might have wanted to bring this out, "God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son." And then to see him provide in the very real way that he does.
Yeah.
What do you think about Abraham being able to say that in day one? And is that something you can say with all confidence? God will provide.
I feel like if I could say that with all confidence and mean it, then I would never worry. But there's a whole lot of worry that I deal with on a daily basis. I want to be able to say that with all confidence, because just like Abraham leading up to all this, he proved that time and time and time and time again to Abraham and to me. So, I mean, I hope that it doesn't take a test like this.
Yeah.
I have to read what Denise said.
Okay, great.
She said, "I agree. What the heck was Isaac thinking? Also, Abraham was over 100 years old and he got a ram out of a bush." No easy feat. She's the best. It's true.
Oh, it is true. Yes. No, we don't. We don't. Yeah. Do you have a specific time in your life where God has provided for you? I mean, it could just be a little thing. Hillary, I didn't think about asking women that this morning. This is a huge way that God provided, but does anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think that obviously, like, the provision also comes with being in the will of God. And when I had children, like, I know that everybody isn't called to stay at home with their kids, but I 100% knew that I was supposed to be at home. And I did not want to let go of the job that I had because I made quite a bit of money.
Okay.
And there were promotions offered, and it was just, I was thriving there because I had been there since I was 18. So I just kind of kept getting more stability. And my husband was not making as much. And so, like, when we looked on paper, if I were to quit my job, it was not possible. And the only thing is, my job provided me the opportunity to work from home for a while. So I felt like I couldn't walk away if I was able to stay home and get the income.
Okay.
But I still knew deep down I wasn't supposed to be working full time because I wasn't getting enough sleep or I wasn't paying enough attention. And I just really felt called to like just be home with them. And I refused to do it. I was too scared.
Wow.
And when I had Nora, I went in and after my maternity leave, they took my work from home away. And when they did that, it was like God I knew I couldn't go back into the office full time. So I quit my job. My husband got laid off.
What?
So he got laid off. A week later, I quit my job. The next Monday, he took a temp job making $10 an hour. And we never went without. We never got really behind.
Wow.
Like he provided the way the whole time and eventually opened up a job opportunity that provides on paper. And so I honestly believe with my whole heart that had we not finally submitted to God's will, because I could have stayed there because it was scary to quit in those circumstances.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine.
But we knew what we were supposed to do. We knew I was never supposed to be gone full time. And so I truly believe that God I don't think that the door would have been opened up for him to have the job that he has now if we held on to what we felt safe with and didn't follow God's will.
That's a beautiful example, Hillary. Wow.
It took a couple years. I did not rise right away in the morning. It took me a while to get there,
but you did it. And God has used it to, I would say, mature your faith as well, right? Like when I hear you tell that story, you tell it with a confidence in the Lord.
Yeah. Yes.
That he provided for us, and he provided in very real and tangible ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And he's done that more than once. There's so many examples, but that's the one that I can see the whole picture now.
Right.
From start to finish. So that's when I think, why do you get out of that again and wonder and worry and fear? And he's shown me that he's real and that he moves. So.
I love that story. I can kind of relate to that story too. Not that we experienced a layoff during that time, but I also left my work when our first was born. I did, but it was a step of faith for us. We felt that we were being called to do that too, and it cut our income in half at the time, which was
a big deal.
It's a big deal, yeah, because we weren't living on half of our income before then to in any way, shape, or form get ready for that or prepared for that, but really saw God provide in tangible ways. Like, okay, this maybe is going to sound so silly, but like literally going to the grocery store, forgetting my coupons were a big deal back then, and diaper coupons were a big deal. It was worth a whole $1, which is
a big deal.
Yes. And a lady, after praying about it, a lady coming up to me and saying, "Hey, do you need a diaper coupon?" Like,
that's stuff that gives you goosebumps.
Yeah. He provides. And I think that that stands out to me in this chapter is just this idea of, okay, what do we learn about who God is? I see him providing on so many different levels here. Like he's providing for Abraham's faith. Yeah. I don't know. Anything you want to add to that? I feel like I could go on a rant with that one.
I don't know. It just really challenges me when I've seen it in my own life and then see it right in front of me in scripture to do my part. Because sometimes it's easy to leave it all up to God, but there is discipline for us. Like you asked the question this morning, what is God asking me to lay down? I know there are things in my life that are in the way of me truly being in the center of God's will or truly seeing all of his blessings or, having the kind of faith and obedience that I want to have. So I really want to evaluate, what are those things?
It's just practical application.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other words about who Abraham is and his faith?
Oh, Abraham.
Hmm.
I feel like finally, I wrote the words finally. in
Oh,
the
I like
meantime.
that. Yeah.
Because before this, I was writing, seriously, Abraham?
Mhm.
Again, Abraham? And now I'm like, oh, finally. Like, he truly trusted God's protection and provision. He had 100% faith. Finally. Like, he was old. It took a while.
I don't know why that even brings tears to my eyes, Hillary. I guess because, it gives hope
Yeah.
to me that someday God can say, finally, Carmen, finally, you get this. And
Yeah.
like this, now I know.
Mhm.
Now I know, Carmen, your heart is with my heart
Yeah.
in this. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think maybe that's a good place to end for the day. I have a whole new appreciation for Abraham, for Genesis chapter 22, for the way that we have seen his faith grow and
Yeah.
have been on this faith journey with him. And we've just, he's the first one. We still have Isaac and Jacob, and we got a ways to go here.
I'm sure there's going to be more.
Yeah.
What? And seriously? And finally.
Hillary, thank you so much for being a part of the journey. Ladies, thank you too. Thank you for being a part of this journey. We would love to hear from you. And maybe today you could answer specifically what's one way God has provided for you. It could be something small, something big. Maybe if we want to go deeper on the questions, what is it that God's asking us to lay down? That one's a bit more personal. I may not want to go on the Facebook page, but definitely worthy to think about.
For sure.
Denise, we look forward to seeing you next week. Betsy, too. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to try to sign off and...
The mouse isn't
okay,
moving.
we're not going to sing on our own, so I have to...
No singing?
If you want to sing, you go for the singing. Sign language.
Rinky dinky dink.